Hey guys, it's Smaller here. Today we're going to be covering how to create alpha channels for your textures for the use in Renegade. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is open up a texture that you want to apply an alpha channel to. You can create your own, or you can use a texture that's already been made. For this demonstration, I'm just going to use a Renegade texture. I'm just going to use this LO3 wet DRT.tga. So here's our texture. First thing you want to do is unlock the layer. That's unlocked. So the first thing I want to do is create a new channel. As you can see, there's only RGB channels. For alpha textures, you need an extra channel, which is the 5th channel called alpha. So to create that, we have to go back to our layer and select everything in the scene or in the layer. And then once you're done that, you can select this tool right here, save selection as alpha, and you can see it pops up, alpha 1. So first thing I'm going to do is click to that layer and make sure the eye tool is on there. It means that you're selected in that channel. And I'll just give you a few tips on the alpha channels. White is anywhere that you want the texture to be visible, and black is anything where you want the texture to be invisible once you have the alpha channel applied. So first thing I want to do is cover this white up with black. I just want to make some random alpha channel. I'm just going to paint in what I want for the alpha channel. Just going to randomly put nice squiggly lines. Like I said, the white is where the texture will be visible. The black is where it will be not visible. So there's my alpha channel. If we switch the RGB back on, as you can see, the red is where the texture is going to be invisible, and the clear areas is where the texture will be visible. So if we turn off our alpha channel and go back to our first layer, now we're ready. We have just created our alpha channel and we're done. So there's two ways of saving this. You can either save it as a TGA or a DDS. There are two differences on saving as a different file type. I'll first go through TGA. So if you want to save it as a TGA, I'm just going to rename this to a custom name so I don't have any conflicts with the old texture. I'm just going to go mol dirt channel and save it as, and this target options will pop up. A few things to note about this is the 32-bit is always for textures with alpha channels only, and the 24-bit is for textures without alpha channels. You want to always remember that. 32 with alpha, 24 without. So this one has an alpha channel, so I'm going to save it as 32-bit. Push OK, and it's done. So now I'm going to save this as a DDS. It's a little bit different. So I'm going to rename it the same file name as the old one, dirt channel.dds, and I'm going to save, and then our plugin will pop up. The only ones you'll be using with this plugin is DXT1 and DXT5. DXT1 is for textures with no alpha channels. Obviously we need something different, so DXT5, that's the channel that's the format we need for the alpha channel to show properly. So we're going to select DXT5 and save, and we're done. So we're done with the Photoshop part. Now we're going to go to the Max part. Open up Max. For demonstration, I'm just going to quickly create a plane and apply the textures that we had, the TGA and the DDS. I'm just going to maximize this viewport. I'm just going to create 2 clone meshes. There we have 2. So first thing I'm going to do is create the first TGA texture. I'm just going to leave the surface type for now. Pass count can stay at 1. So we just go to the shader tab, select alpha blend, and then we go to the texture tab. Stage 0 texture is the texture we want to show, and that's the TGA texture that we just made. I've got a lot of textures. Just give me a second. So there's our two textures. So I'm going to take the TGA one first, and I'll hit display, and then quickly apply it. As you can see in the viewport here, you can see the areas where the alpha channel is registering. It won't show in the viewport, but it will show once we export it. So that material is applied. Now we're just going to copy this over to another box, but we're just going to call this something different. And then we're going to change that same texture, just the texture this time, to the DDS version. So there's our DDS version. Make sure the shader's to alpha blend, everything's good, and then we'll apply it to this other mesh right there. So we got the TGA right here and the DDS version right here. It's up to you which version you want to use. I'd say DDS, as the DDS format is a lot smaller than TGA textures. Now we want to set up the W3D tool options. So we'll select V alpha for both, and then I'm going to apply collisions to both, depending on what your model is. So I'm just going to select the default ones. As you can see here, it's only one-sided. We can fix that by either making a box, or you can also select two-sided for both. That way when you export it, this side will copy over to the blank side. So now that we're done, we're going to quickly export this to W3D. So I'm going to save it as a Renegade Terrain, export it, and then we're going to load up that test alpha W3D. Give it a second to load. Here we go. Just going to load up that mesh. And as you can see, the texture where we've created our channel has deleted everything else except for our alpha channels. DDS here, TGA here. The only difference between the two file formats is DDS is a lot smaller compared to TGA format. And then as you can see, we also selected two-side for the mesh. Thanks for watching, guys. The same on both sides.